Oh, crap. Okay, where do we start today? Do we want to upset gamers or flood the comments with people calling us liberal shills for simply reporting on the news that is quite damaging to the President of the United States? You'd probably start with gaming news, because at this point the general consensus appears to be that people seem to be at least a little more accepting of video games being delayed these days, because we've all seen numerous times what can happen if a game is rushed to market just so that it can make its release date.
Yeah, so Cyberpunk 2077 is officially delayed.
Delayed.
By a while.
Yeah.
And this isn't just some small delay. It was announced on Thursday morning that the game will be pushed back from its original release date of April 16th all the way to September 17th. So that's 5 months.
Yeah.
In a post to Twitter, the game's developer, CD Projekt Red, released the following statement regarding the delay. "We are currently at a stage where the game is complete and playable, but there's still work to be done. Night City is massive, full of stories, content, and places to visit, but due to the sheer scale and complexity of it all, we need more time to finish playtesting, fixing, and polishing. We want Cyberpunk 2077 to be our crowning achievement for this generation, and postponing launch will give us the precious months we need to make the game perfect." Good!
I know, right?
I mean, it sucks, but good.
Yeah, well, like 80% of the fun of a new game is the anticipation leading up to it. So they're just edging us for another couple months until you get sweet release. Mm-hmm. And then everyone plays it for 3 weeks and moves on to the next thing.
Well, I mean, The Witcher 3 had its highest daily player count of all time.
Just
recently.
Like
2 weeks ago. That's a game that came out 6 years ago.
Yeah, so just don't even worry about the video game Cyberpunk 2077. Wait until the Netflix series.
Yeah.
Then you can play it with everyone, and it'll be all patched and perfect, and DLC will be added.
Also gives you more time to save up for a better PC.
Yeah, everyone should really do what, Elliot, you've talked about this before, but you should, instead of relying on a release date for a game, you should start anticipating whenever the final gold version of the game comes out, and just mark that release date.
Yeah.
So all the DLC will be out, the game will be half price, and I can play it exactly how I want to.
All the bugs are patched.
Mm-hmm. But that's not the only highly anticipated game from this year that's getting a delay. Because earlier this week, it was also announced that both the Final Fantasy VII Remake and that new Avengers game will also be pushed back from their original release dates as well. It was a bad week for anticipated gamers. The Final Fantasy VII Remake is being moved back a little over a month.
Not bad.
Yeah.
Who cares?
As for the Avengers game, which, we have to remind you, was nominated for both Worst Trailer and Least Anticipated Game in our recent Tuggy Award ceremony. That game had an original release date of May 15th, but it's been pushed back almost as significantly as Cyberpunk. It's been pushed back to September 4th. And following today's news about Cyberpunk, that puts the Avengers game, which kind of looks bad, in close competition with what will be one of the biggest releases of the year. So,
which will you choose?
There's some hats being punched right now about moving those release dates around. Damn it, that was our idea first.
Yeah. So gamers gonna have to get used to edging.
Yeah, just calm down.
Wait it out. When you finally achieve release, it'll be
well worth it.
So much more worth it. Just ask Sting, who's gonna play us out.
No.
Anyway, again, people seem to be shifting more towards acceptance of changes like these, especially in the wake of so many horror stories about studio crunch times.
Hopefully these devs get to see their families now that the release date has been moved.
Yeah. It's definitely better to wait for a game and have it be an incredible experience than to have it hit its initial release date and be a buggy mess that has to be fixed over the course of months with patches.
Or just forgotten about, like Anthem.
Yeah. But now that we have the gaming news out of the way, get it out of here. Let's talk about what the hell is going on with the whole Trump impeachment thing. I was sort of not paying attention to this. I'm like, whatever. The latest stuff is fucking wild.
Yeah, it's
crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, as you'll hopefully remember, Donald Trump, our president, our big wet president, was impeached back in December. So he's gone. He's not our president anymore.
Yeah,
right?
That's what it means, right? That's what every ultra-conservative or alt-right troll on the internet seemed to believe that liberals thought, or anyone that centrist or liberal otherwise.
It
doesn't mean he's leaving. Also, half people were like, he's not actually impeached. That's a whole different discussion.
I think it was mostly people from other countries who were understandably confused about that.
Sure.
But yeah, so the House voted to impeach. Now it goes to the Senate.
Yeah.
The House decided to hold on to the articles of impeachment and not send them to Senate at first, thanks in part to people like Mitch McConnell, Senate Majority Leader, who went on record saying that they would not be an impartial juror.
Well, okay.
Hey, he's saying the quiet part out loud, like he always does.
Oops, and I oop. Well, yesterday, the House did finally send the articles of impeachment to the Senate. thereby starting the official trial of Donald Trump.
The witch trial, witch hunt. It was a perfect phone call.
Oh my God,
this man is being burned at the stake for a perfect phone call.
His tweet today, all caps, "I've been impeached for a perfect phone call."
Just, it's all going in the Library of Congress, baby, forever.
Now, we kind of already know what's going to happen with this trial. The GOP have a majority in the Senate, and they will almost certainly rule in favor of Trump regardless of any evidence or witnesses that take the stand. And listen, we already know that if you're a Trump fanboy, nothing's going to change your mind about any of this, but some crazy shit went down, specifically with Lev Parnas this week, and it's pretty important that you're made aware of what he said, but here's a few refreshers on everything for everyone first.
Lev Parnas, that's a great, porn producer name.
Yeah.
A Lev Parnas production.
Yeah. The whole impeachment revolves around the Trump administration withholding aid from Ukraine in order to get them to announce an investigation into Hunter Biden's involvement in Burisma Holdings. Yes, they eventually did get the money, but that was way after they were supposed to get it, and it was only sent out after the whistleblower claim about the quid pro quo started going public. There were a ton of witnesses and people involved with the whole thing who testified before the House and backed up all the statements that were made. A constant complaint is, why can't we hear from the whistleblower? But I don't know, it's not really necessary because the complaint was backed up by numerous witnesses involved. It's literally like saying the police can't investigate a robbery until they interrogate the person who called 911. So...
yeah. Anyways, one of the people involved who had not spoken out about the whole thing until recently was Lev Parnas. Lev Parnas worked closely with President Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, in a plot to dig up dirt on the Bidens. Previously, Parnas had told The New Yorker, quote, "Because of my Ukrainian background and my contacts there, I became like Rudy's assistant, his investigator. I don't do anything on my own. I don't lobby people. I go get information. I set up a meeting. I make sure that the call went right. I make sure the translation is done right. I create perfect phone calls."
He is the creator of the perfect phone call. Mm-hmm. In October of last year, Parnas was arrested right before he attempted to flee the country and was charged with conspiracy, making false statements, and falsification of records. He was on his way with a one-way ticket to Vienna and got caught.
So during the initial impeachment inquiry in the House, he was brought up multiple times because of phone records that linked him with various people within the Trump White House, including Devin Nunes, a ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, and just a real shady guy.
Yeah.
People justifiably thought it was odd that Nunes wouldn't recuse himself from the impeachment inquiry since it appeared as though he might have had at least some involvement in the general Ukraine aid scandal. Mm-hmm. Anyways, cut to this week when the articles of impeachment were officially sent to the Senate. Literally the day that this happened, Wednesday, my dudes, Parnas finally spoke out about his involvement in the scandal and also implicated a bunch of other people involved.
Yeah. During an interview with Rachel Maddow on Wednesday night, Parnas essentially confirmed that President Trump was well aware of his efforts in getting Ukraine to announce an investigation into the Bidens. We should probably say at some point here that we don't like Joe Biden.
Yeah.
If you've watched this show for any period of time, you'll know that.
Drop out, Joe.
No. Anyways, this is what he said. President Trump knew exactly what was going on. He was aware of all of my movements. I wouldn't do anything without the consent of Rudy Giuliani or the president.
Yeah, he understands consent.
Yeah. He also stated that the reason Vice President Mike Pence's trip to newly elected Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's inauguration was canceled due to the fact that Ukrainian officials hadn't yet agreed to announce the investigation into the Bidens. Quote, after Giuliani met with Trump, Parnas said Giuliani instructed him to give a Zelensky advisor, Sergei Sheffer, a message in a very harsh way. The message was that if Zelensky didn't comply with investigating the Bidens, then all aid to Ukraine would stop. The U.S.-Ukraine relationship would sour, and nobody would show up to Zelensky's inauguration. Parnas also alleged that both Mike Pence and Attorney General William Barr were also part of the overall scheme.
So this is going to be a fun comment section.
Yeah.
Go off down there, kings. Also, it's actually weird, but we'll point it out anyway. We've touched on a few notable Trump stories in the years since he was elected. And for a majority of the time, we saw a hell of a lot less comments attempting to defend him or call us losers and cucks. But recently, since the impeachment, and as we entered a new election cycle, the amount of pro-Trump comments down there has ballooned. It's just a little odd, is all.
That's all, yeah. Nothing, not saying anything, not saying anything. It's just...
hey, man, that's organic engagement.
Sure is.
Anyways, outside of the whole Lev Parnas interview saga, it was also announced on Thursday this week that the U.S. Government Accountability Office officially found that the Trump administration violated the law by freezing the aid to the Ukraine. According to the Associated Press, the independent agency, which reports to Congress, said the Office of Management and Budget violated the Impoundment Control Act by delaying the security assistance for policy reasons rather than technical budgetary needs. Faithful execution of the law does not permit the president to substitute his own policy priorities for those that Congress has enacted into law, wrote the agency's general counsel, Thomas Armstrong, in the report.
So, yeah, like we said, kind of a little bit of a lull there after the impeachment, and things are ratcheting up very, very fast.
And there's a new character, too. That Connecticut guy who's running for Congress who...
Is that the one that was, like, trying to get Parnas to say that...
no, he was the one that was trying to kidnap and or assassinate the U.S. ambassador.
I heard you can do anything over there with a little bit of money.
Yeah, there are some insane text messages where he... it sure as hell sounds like he's like, well, you want me to take care of her?
Well, in the Maddow interview, Parnas was like... the guy, I don't believe anything he said. He's kind of a weirdo. I wouldn't trust anything he says. He kind of sounds like always like he's talking himself up and making up hypothetical situations.
And that was that guy's defense. He's just like, yeah, no, it was
I talk a big game.
Just jokes.
Yeah.
Just jokes.
Well, the FBI showed up at his house this morning.
Yeah, and those text messages were enough
messages?
Those text messages were enough that the Department of State made that ambassador come back to the U.S. because there was enough legitimate justifiable fear for her safety. So, interesting.
Like we said, 2020, going to be an exciting year. And there's going to be no shortage of things to pay attention to in the lead up to Cyberpunk 2077, the ultimate escapism from all of this. Mm-hmm. So yes, there is a hell of a lot going on right now. There's absolutely no signs that any of this will slow down as we head towards that trial in the Senate. But while sticking with politics, let's end this episode on a slightly more lighthearted note. The phrase, okay, boomer, is finally, officially dead. Because it's literally reached its ultimate conclusion. And we thought it had already done this multiple times, but here it is. The phrase, it was actually used in the Supreme Court. Yes, okay, boomer has made its way to the Supreme Court thanks to Chief Justice John Roberts, a boomer himself, who uttered the phrase during a case regarding a standard that aging federal employees must meet when trying to prove age discrimination. During the case, Roberts asked if a younger hiring person uttered the phrase, okay, boomer, would that be actionable for a discrimination case? And people in the courtroom laughed when he used the phrase, but yeah, the attorney presenting the case, Roman Martinez, basically said, yes, if saying okay, boomer was, quote, one of the factors going into this decision, I think it would absolutely be covered. Now, this case isn't closed yet, but it was an interesting moment, just watching a meme die like that.
Yeah, Supreme Court, that's way worse than Ellen.
Yeah. It goes from Ellen to the Supreme Court. That's the step that memes go.
Anyways, enjoy the comment section down below.
Be gentle.
Be gentle. And if you want to hear more of us shooting the shit about stuff far less important than our almost certainly corrupt government, head over to our Patreon page for our latest podcast where we talk about the Oscars, Disneyland, movies, and much more. Mm-hmm. Also, if you're a member here on YouTube, you can find it on our community tab.
Yes.
Other than that, check out our latest videos, including our most recent episode of Tech News Day, where we were joined by our old friend Phil Larigo, who came back to drop some more rap facts on all of us.
Yeah. It's sad.
Mm-hmm. Check it out.
Well, we're glad to see him, but it's a fucked up story.
Yeah.
Check those out. We'll see you next time.
Bye.